wherever you are on this amazing ball spinning in the universe.
I'm Ariel.
I'm Shya.
Welcome to being here.
Yes, welcome.
Oh,
Today, we're going to talk about the healing power of listening. I like that
I do too.
because, see, first, let me tell you, our approach is not psychotherapeutic. So we're not going to try to change you or fix you. Our approach is really about discovering how to access and live in the current moment of your life. And what will support you in that amazingly is listening. Thing is, we don't normally listen. We think about what people say to see whether we already know it, we agree with it, or disagree with it. So it is possible to discover your life in the current moment by listening, because not thinking about what's being said, but allowing what's being said to come into you without filtering it through what you already know.
Now, you are you today. I know that's a weird statement, but allow me to continue, please. You're listening to this podcast, but are you? Are you scattered? Are you thinking of other things? Are there projects on your to-do list? Are you in the midst of walk or driving somewhere?
Are you in the midst of an argument with somebody where you're right and they're wrong?
Are you listening to this while typing emails? If so, chances are you're hearing pieces of this podcast.
Well, you can only hear the pieces you know to listen to. So if we talk about something that's outside of what you already know, it'll be like gibberish, actually.
You know, I've seen it so many times on our Zoom seminars where we have a screen full of people and we'll talk about a subject that is challenging for somebody.
Could be dating,
could be health, could be weight, could be sex, could be aging parents, could be, and we'll watch certain people fade out in their ability to listen until the subject changes.
It may be an internalized self-survival mechanism that we have to avoid looking at what we don't want to look at.
Ooh, I'm not ready to hear this
yet.
yet.
No. I'm not up for dating anymore. Well, actually, I'm not up for dating anymore, except for you.
We had a wonderful date this week.
Oh, we did. We did.
But we digress. So today.
But it was a date between us.
That's right.
Rather than going out into the universe to find a different, more, better,
sometimes I like to try and dress up for dates, but it's hard because I'd rather just be skin to skin with you.
Well, you've already said a little too much, and we've lost some people.
Did we lose you? The healing power of listening.
When you truly listen to somebody, you hear what they say from their point of view, and they are not wrong for their point of view. That's just their point of view. Now, if you disagree with it, well, then you're lost in a forever battle. If you agree with it, then it's just filters into what you already believe to be true. But true listening isn't about agreeing or disagreeing. It's about hearing what another person has to say. Now, what's the point of it? I don't really care whether you hear what I have to say, but if you truly listen, you'll get pulled into the current moment of your life. And that's magical. That's a miracle, because most of the time you're worrying about the future, you're complaining about the past in a constant conversation with yourself about how life isn't showing up the way you'd prefer, except when it does, and then you don't prefer that after a while anyway. Have you noticed?
The other day, Shya and I were watching a program on network television, and we tend to watch a particular network. And one of the regular interviewers had gone out to interview people that primarily watched an opposing network, their political views. And I so enjoyed listening to these people who heartfelt had a absolutely different perspective than mine. There was something so lovely about being able to hear from their heart how they felt without having to take an opposing view so as to
or
be
make them
right.
wrong for their point of view.
I just really, really, of course, the interviewer was awesome because he was very interested in hearing what they had to say. So there was no need for that person to communicate defensively or with anger, or it was just a heartfelt conversation. And I have this feeling that our lack of listening to each other produces animus.
Animus. Well, that's a good word. That's a 25-cent word.
If you don't know that word animus, how do we describe it?
Uh,
Animosity
the
toward
animosity,
others.
yes.
Yeah.
Animosity, yes. Very
Let's
good.
take our first listener.
Yes.
I mean, speaker. I mean,
guest. Yes. Hey, Dave.
Where are you
Hey,
from?
hey, I'm zooming in from Winnipeg, which is in Canada.
Awesome.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, it's nice to be with you.
Well,
Yeah,
it's nice to have you. What can we do for you, sir? What about?
Yeah, listen. So I've known you guys for a long time. Feels like a long time, and listening has, learning to listen has really made a huge difference in my life. Relationships that were difficult got easy, or easier, and as they change from time to time. And one thing I noticed recently.
Stop you right there.
Yes.
They get easier when you listen to that person, but when you disagree with what they're saying, they get difficult again.
Yeah.
I mean, that's really what happens. As you describe it, I can see it.
Yeah, that happens like in an instant.
The instant you resist what they're saying and think they're wrong for it, that's when you lose that affinity and relationship.
Yeah.
You know, we were talking about this network interviewer, and I could see his face when the person he was interviewing said things that he felt had been proven to be untrue or were diametrically opposed to what he had as a perspective. And it was really interesting to watch the motor muscles of his face and watch him purposefully relax to take in another's perspective so that he could take in another's perspective.
Otherwise, you just get the resistance to what you don't want to hear.
Yeah, I feel that and I noticed it recently. When somebody speaks to me and points out something that I take as critical or see as critical, my mind, my body just kind of tenses up. And then the mechanism of working on myself, like now that I have that information, I have to do something to show that I got it, or I'm getting better. Do you know that what I mean by that?
Yeah, I have a question. Have you ever noticed that you have self-critical judgments that exist in you and they talk to you about you?
Yeah. All the time.
Now, you're doing the best you know how to do, right?
Yes.
But it doesn't mean that self-critical governor, that voice in your brain or wherever it's located, doesn't complain that you're not doing it the right way.
Or correct you. It may show up like a correction.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
Well, it's automatic. Have you noticed that?
Yes.
Well, when people judge you, they too are an automatic. they can't help but do that because that's just the automatic mechanism of their mind.
Mm.
Now, when you offend yourself with it, you get in trouble because then it goes over time, you see. If you just notice it, it's over. If you resist it, you get stuck with it. Defending yourself is resisting what's being said.
Mm.
And, it's normal. It's what everybody does, but
Yeah.
everybody isn't very happy.
I find it easier to listen, quote unquote, listen, when it doesn't have a personal attachment to me.
Of course.
You mean like it's easier in a way to listen to a stranger than, say, a family member?
Yeah. Or a girlfriend or
Yes,
no?
you're afraid if you listen, what they have to say might mean something,
Well,
as
you might
in,
have to change.
Yeah,
But,
or there's a threat to
but
relationship.
so what if unawarely, growing up in the family you grew up in, you picked up certain relationship habits that are not exactly kind to you or anybody you're in relationship with? Because God knows our parents did not take courses in relationship.
now you're nodding, but you're probably better
Yes.
off speaking out loud.
Yes, you're correct.
So if somebody like a loved one, like a relationship, points out to you something that you do that they find irritating or
Yeah.
bothersome, now you could pull well, it's your problem that you feel irritated. It's your irritation. Or you could hear what they say and see what it'll cost you to give up that way of behaving.
I think you're a step too far on that.
Okay, tell
It's
me.
not even what to give up that way of behaving. It's, for instance, I'll give you an example from Shia and my life.
Okay.
I don't know where I developed it, but I did develop it. And it's something that at least one other family member I know of has, where if I am not really present or I'm in a hurry, I leave drawers or doors half open.
Right.
So
Jar lids.
jar lids are not screwed on, or it's just like I can go, or I used to go through the house like a whirlwind, and I would go around and check drawers and doors of cabinets and have to be really attentive because he'd pick up a jar of something and the jar would fall off because I wasn't there when I was screwing the lid on. In that moment, if he would say to me, Ariel, that was enough. All he had to do was say Ariel. And I'd be like, what? The defenses would go up. So it wasn't so much that you need to shut the drawers. It's you're leaving drawers open again. Hearing that went into that self-critical zone of myself. It was hard to hear the communication without thinking that I was bad, wrong. They wanted me to change the way I wanted me to change.
Yes. Yeah, I have that too. As soon as the words are started, and sometimes even before, I can feel like there's something there to be said.
But look, I don't give tips too frequently, but I have a tip for you.
Okay.
Take a breath, slow down, remind yourself that whatever they're going to say isn't going to hurt and you're going to survive it. And then just be available to hear what's being said to you.
Okay.
I mean, you've been doing the same stuff over and over forever.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about your girlfriend because we happen to know she's actually sitting in the same room with you, and she's our next guest. Uh, and maybe, who knows, maybe you guys will both be our next guest. I don't really care. Uh, Everything is a threat to your relationship, and nothing is a threat to your relationship. If you can't hear each other,
You don't have a
no,
relationship,
you just have some kind of sticky thing.
an entanglement of sorts.
Yeah. Okay.
The other thing is, I know that our viewers or listeners cannot see you because we're releasing this as an audio only. And maybe we'll change that up. We do this on YouTube. I don't see any reason why we can't do it at some point as a video component as well. But you were both sitting there as we were preparing to start. I'm looking at you now. You look refreshed and young and handsome, like years have fallen off you. So clearly this visit together
Has been good for you.
And
she looked great.
Yes, she's just not right in front of me at the moment, but the wrestling you're doing with listening and threat to your relationship. And how many of your kids, Ella, her daughter's with you?
Ella's here, yeah.
Yeah, who else is there right now?
Sadie, my daughter, is here. Elliot has been here, and Jonas and Elliot will be here this afternoon.
Yeah. Given all of the family mishmash, you guys are doing pretty darn good. Maybe you don't have to work so hard at defending that which doesn't need to be defended.
Yeah. Yeah, that's great. Thank you.
So did you have anything else you wanted to share or questions or anything before?
No, that's what was on my mind. Thank you for listening.
Thank you.
A selfish question. How's your son's back?
It got a bit better and it shifted to the other side. And so he's been in physiotherapy as well since. Yeah.
Maybe we'll have an opportunity to see him when we come.
I'd love that.
Thanks. It's that time.
The time for what?
Our listener feedback spotlight.
What is that?
Well, I'm so proud of the people who listen to this show. And now we get to hear from one or more of them about what's happening in their lives with transformation by listening to this podcast and
what they've discovered about life, what they've discovered about their lives, that they are experiencing fun in their lives.
And that they want to share it with you.
Yeah.
This is Claire in Waldorf, Maryland. And one thing I love about transformation is learning how to really listen. I've noticed that that is one way that I can really make a difference in my own life and the lives of those around me, is just by being able to really listen and take in what somebody's saying. And I find it allows me to make a real connection with others. And this is precious to me and wonderful. So I'm grateful to have found this. Thank you so much.
Do you want to have well-being with consistency? Connect with people all over the world from the comfort of your own home at Ariel and Shya's lively interactive Living Made Easy virtual seminars. Join any of their 2-hour online events or take a deep dive into the magic of being you at a virtual weekend seminar. Come on, let's connect. Find out more and register at transformationmadeeasy.com.
This Saturday, Susan Finch and I are hosting Speak Up. It is a virtual seminar. It is on this Saturday only. And it will be an opportunity for you to not only practice the healing art of listening, but have fun while speaking up and discover how absolutely great you are. I love working with her. It's going to be a wonderful day. You are invited. Shya and I are doing a live in-person course in October, The Freedom to Breathe, an Art of Being a Healer.
And that's going to happen at Camp Tecumseh, which is here in New Jersey. It's not far from where we live. It's a beautiful several hundred acre parcel that the Salvation Army has built a camp where they have facilities for kids over the summer, but we have the opportunity to rent it. And it's
Should
like
be just at the height of the
Tree
changing of the
turning.
leaves. It's out in the country. It's beautiful. Sleepaway camp for big kids. Then in November, we have a bilingual German English course, Reclaiming Your Sense of Wonder, on November 18th and 19th. January, if you want to start the year with us, 6th and 7th is our New Beginnings weekend. And of course, Costa Rica 2024 happens in January as well. Also, if you want our 2024 calendar, you can order it off the website. If you're coming to the Freedom to Breathe Out of Being a Healer at Camp Tecumseh, you can pick them up in person, or if you happen to be connecting with us.
Ariel
Stephanie,
took all the pictures and they are
such a beautiful,
magnificent. And it's really a lovely layout. Best calendar we've ever produced.
Stephanie Strelo in Germany has a whole supply of them. There are other people there too, so you can also pick them up from her. All right, we are
Ready?
to take our next guest.
Okay.
And Tanya,
Hi.
We know you're in Winnipeg, and we don't even have to ask you since you're sitting next to Dave.
Yes, I am here next to Dave.
How is it going being, we know that you live in the UK and he lives in Winnipeg in Canada,
Yeah.
and you two are in a relationship. How long was it between the last time you guys saw each other in person and now?
So I think it was about 6 weeks, maybe a bit longer.
Yeah.
Yeah. Dave and his daughter were in the UK with in July.
End of
June.
May.
Oh
June.
God, see?
Yeah.
So
I'm very good at keeping track of the time.
I have a question. Does your ability to listen to each other get stronger as you go? Does it degrade as you have a long period of time? Is it the same? What have you noticed?
What I've noticed actually, and I've really noticed it being here this time, is that we were having a conversation the other day, and I was really aware of I think you mentioned it when you were talking about the interviewer in this show that you were listening to, where you could see him consciously relaxing. And when have been here in person, we've had a couple of conversations where I've felt this kind of sense that there was, I don't know, like a threat, like, oh, what he's going to say might hurt. And I've needed to go, just relax. I sort of felt myself going, okay, relax. It's okay. It's okay. Listen. And when we're apart, we talk quite often on Zoom, Skype, WhatsApp. And in those interactions, I feel like my ability to do that relaxing is not as good. I feel like it's harder to listen.
You got to take into account a number of things. One of the major ones is where you work.
Yeah.
How many men work with you?
3.
How many women work with you?
14, 15.
Yes.
And if you were to do female to male ratio of time spent in a week, is it equal? Is it 80% women, 90% women, 20% women? What is it?
Yes, probably 80% women.
And if you took a
Yeah.
look and saw, do those women have a point of view about men?
Yes. Yes.
Is it positive?
No, not always. Not always. No.
So, and here's the other thing. You live with your daughter,
Yeah.
who's almost a woman, who's a young woman. You live with your mother in the same neighborhood, at least,
Yeah.
if not in the same house nearby.
Yeah.
Uh, so your closest interactions are, for the most part, with women. And they are with women who have a point of view about men that is not exactly positive.
But
Most men are the enemy.
even if it was positive, I find sometimes after I have spent a day with one of my lady friends or a few of them,
How about your sisters?
my sisters too, but I'm even talking about people who I consider all having really good
Relationships.
with my, that was kind of revealing there. Um, when I switch gears to listen to Shya, it's almost a different portal. Girl speak for me is very different than interpersonal relationship speak. I can speak really, really in depth with my lady friends. And even with my sisters as my lady friends, sometimes we have very in-depth, sweet conversations, but it's distinctly different than with Shya. I don't know why that is, but it's true.
I'm serious.
Oh yeah.
I can't relate.
I also find that if I've been busy with one thing, or if Shia comes home and he's very filled with what he's been doing out and about, there's a momentary switching of gears to actually be able to hear what he has to say, regardless of if our relationship is just amazingly in sync or not. If I'm fully involved in something else, there or have been, there's sometimes that swap over time.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel that. And particularly sometimes when we talk, when I'm back at home, it will be at the end of a full day, and then I'm trying to do the things I need to do in the evening once my daughter's in bed. And so then I don't think I give it the time to switch to a different
Well,
way.
it almost becomes obligatory rather than what you want to do, because you're tired already.
Even if it's what you want to
Even
do.
if it's what you want to do, it's like, how do I keep my eyes open for this? And it's a very different thing also, because you guys are in very different time zones.
What are you, like 7 hours apart?
8 hours?
6 hours?
6 hours.
6 hours apart.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And for
So-
me too, when it's towards the end of my workday, and I'm often switching from that to her, and requires a completely different mindset to do as well.
Well, I liked what you said, take a breath. Maybe take a breath, even if everything's doing well. It's like, here we are, it's like landing where you are. Yeah.
Thank you.
I do have one question for you guys. Do you ever speak together when you get together on Skype, Zoom, or WhatsApp longer than you really want, because you don't want to indicate that you're not interested in the other person?
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, it's kind of like Shya and I sometimes at night we'll go to bed and we'll chat, or I'll scooch over and I'm not talking about the physically intimate evenings. I'm talking about I'll scooch over and I'll play a couple of games of solitaire with him while he's on his iPad. but I think it's always really important that we pay attention to, hey, I'm tired. This is the end of my day. And
So don't take it personal if I fall asleep on you.
Yeah, I definitely have the thought expectation that, especially when we're together, that we won't spend a moment apart, even though it's not necessarily the appropriate thing all the time.
well, not only not appropriate, it might not be fun.
Yeah.
It just might be fun.
You guys have, in a way, a very ideal situation happening in that you don't get tired of each other because you're not around each other long enough to get bored with each other.
That's
True. I'm definitely not bored.
No.
I do feel like there's something new happening for you guys that I feel is really lovely. And what you said about sometimes how you used to spend every moment together, it felt as if not only were you spending every moment together, but you were exclusive of the wider world around you, not necessarily your children. You probably took them places and did things, but it was almost like this is our time. And I feel as if something in you guys has relaxed a little bit to include the world, include the transformational community. I imagine it's not, that's just where I'm aware of it, but I imagine it's other places as well. And that may be why you're both looking so well. Like you're not having to get the energy only from each other. It's in the wider world around you.
I feel that.
Nice.
Thank you.
Lovely being with you guys today.
Yes.
And
Now there's something very sweet about simply listening to these two or chatting with these two without feeling like we have to drive the conversation to get somewhere.
Yes.
And yeah, that's sweet. I know we mentioned it in the middle of this podcast, but the Freedom to Breathe Art of Being a Healer course at Camp Tecumseh is going to be extremely special. That course has always been one that has been the most sought after, most appreciated course of just about anything we do. I mean, aside from a longer course in Costa Rica. And we've always had to hold it in a city like New York City or in Hamburg. And I'm so excited that we have the opportunity to do it out in nature, and that entire property is set aside for all of us. And if you can make it, I invite you. There are people in the community who will support you in getting out here. So I just thought I'd say that before we end it for today. If you enjoyed the podcast, you can leave a review on your favorite podcast app. It helps other people find being here. And if you feel to, thanks in advance. And I've found that to be really, really another healing possibility where people have been reaching out to others and sharing what they have.
Yep.
Next week's podcast.
That's the trick.
Guess you'll have to tune in to see what that's all about.
Me too.
Me too. We'll be back next week.
So come on back.
And don't miss
being here.